We're going to talk about the movements, the ranges of movements that happen in the upper limb and lower limb. First, there is the flexion movement. The flexion movement is one that reduces the angle between two bones that articulate at a joint. For example, at your elbow joint, a movement that reduces the angle between the ulnar radius and the humerus is a flexion movement, and one that increases the angle is the extension movement. Well, take note that there are joints that only accommodate flexion and extension. Following this discussion will be a brief discussion on the types of joints and the different ranges of movements that they are able to achieve. So, that is flexion and extension. Then, a movement that reduces the distance between a part of the body and the median plane. That is to say, a movement that brings a part of the body towards the median plane, closer to the median plane, is called the adduction movement. So adduction is to bring an upper limb, for example, closer to the median plane, or a lower limb, or any part of the body. The adduction movement is a bit unique for certain parts for certain joints. For example, while looking at the digits, the phalanges of the upper limb, adduction is usually in reference to the middle finger. So movement to the middle finger is adduction, and away from the middle finger is abduction. So the abduction movement is the opposite movement, one that takes a limb or a part of the body away from the median plane. And take note of the unique features of abduction in certain joints, like we have discussed in the hand. Well, for the flexion movement, it's normally reduction in angle to be flexion, increase in angle to be extension, but there are also certain joints that have a special flexion movement. For example, at your shoulder joint, when you move it anteriorly, when you move the arm anteriorly, that is flexion at the shoulder joint. And when you move it posteriorly, that is extension at the shoulder joint. Now, a combination of the flexion movement, the abduction movement, the extension movement, and the adduction movement gives you the circumduction. So circumduction is flexion, abduction, extension, adduction, in that order, or in the reverse order. That is to say, so it was flexion, abduction, extension, adduction. So if you have adduction, extension, abduction, flexion, in that order, that is circumduction. How about, so those are the four movements plus the circumduction. 5. How about inversion and aversion? That applies to certain joints, especially the ankle joint. So, if the ankle joint moves in such a way that imagine this is my foot. So if the plantar surface is made to move, to face inward, that kind of movement that makes it face inward is the inversion movement, whereas the movement that makes the plantar surface or the sole face outwards is the eversion movement. Now, the other movements are rotation movements. Rotation means movement along, movement around a given axis. For example, at the shoulder joint, we can have movement around the longitudinal axis, but moving inwards, that is the medial rotation, whereas moving outwards is the lateral rotation. We can do that at the hip joint and at the shoulder joint and at other ball and socket joints in the body. Now, Those are the rotation movements. In, out. In being medial rotation, out being lateral rotation. How about supination and pronation? If I lie on my back, I'm in the supine position. So the supine position is assumed to be when the dorsum is lying, the body is lying on the dorsum. The dorsum is the dependent part. So this is the supination movement, and the reverse movement is the pronation movement, when the dorsum is made to face, the ventral aspect becomes the dependent part. So this is supination, this is pronation. Supination, pronation. We shall see in our other videos, it is the functional position of the hand, the mid-prone, when you're writing, when you're taking tea, a cup of tea, when you're doing most of the things. The hand is not in the supine position nor in the prone position, but in most cases in the mid-prone position. It's not a movement, but it's a position. For more videos, please like, subscribe to this channel, but also below here is the 8med.net website. Create an account for yourself. You will be able to access these videos at any time of your own comfort, at the luxury of your bed, at any time throughout this fall semester, and you will be able to have better understanding of this course. Bye.